Dreams begin, in Van de Cassel's telling, long before the sleeper closes their eyes. Every civilization, he suggests, has treated the dream as a borderland where the ordinary dissolves. Ancient cultures understood this instinctively, seeing dreams as messages from gods, ancestors, or deeper wisdom. By opening with these mythic histories, he frames dreaming as an inheritance as old as humanity itself, something sacred that modern life has simply forgotten how to read. As the narrative moves into ancient Egypt and Greece, dreamers become powerful figures. Pharaohs consulted dream interpreters, and temples were dedicated to incubation rituals meant to summon healing visions. Van de Cassel shows these early dream traditions not as superstition but as sophisticated attempts to harness the mind's nightly creativity. In doing so, he invites the reader to recognize dream work as a practice embedded in human culture, not a fringe curiosity. He then shifts to how dreams were woven into religions. Prophets in the Old Testament, mystics in early Christianity, and seekers across Asia all encountered revelations in sleep. Van de Cassel emphasizes that dreams were once considered a legitimate channel of insight, moral guidance, and transformation. This spiritual dimension matters not just historically but practically. It reminds the reader that dreams can reveal ethical dilemmas, hidden fears, and longings when the waking mind is too rigid to notice. The book's narrative grows richer as he explores indigenous traditions. Shamans treat dreams as portals where healing, animal spirits, and ancestral teachings reside. Rather than describing these accounts as exotic, Van de Cassel interprets them as part of a global pattern. Societies intimately connected with nature pay close attention to their dreaming lives. He implies that modern people might regain emotional balance by restoring this attentiveness. After this worldwide tour, the story turns inward to the scientific revolution. Dreams were pushed aside as rationalism dominated. Van de Cassel describes this moment almost like a cultural forgetting, a period where the dream lost its authority. Yet even during this era, poets and philosophers kept a flame alive, insisting that dreams reveal truths through metaphor rather than logic. Their persistence becomes a bridge leading toward modern psychology. With Freud, the dream returns to center stage. Van de Cassel recounts Freud's discovery that dreams encode unspoken wishes, unresolved conflicts, and buried memories. But he also critiques Freud's sometimes rigid conclusions, offering a more flexible interpretation of the unconscious. The actionable takeaway becomes clear: interpreting dreams is less about decoding a dictionary of symbols and more about understanding the emotional logic behind the imagery. Jung enters as a complement rather than a rival. For Jung, dreams arise not only from personal memory but from a collective reservoir of archetypes. Van de Cassel presents Jung's perspective as an unfolding myth in itself, where the dreamer is both hero and student. Dreams teach, warn, comfort, and challenge. Jung's view expands the reader's imagination, encouraging them to approach their own dreams as living stories shaped by universal themes. The narrative then widens to include the discoveries of REM sleep and dream physiology. Dreaming, once seen as mysterious vapor, becomes measurable brain activity. Van de Cassel writes about these findings not to demystify dreams but to deepen appreciation for how profoundly the brain commits itself to nightly storytelling. The science adds credibility to ancient intuitions. Dreaming is not nonsense but an organized mental process serving real psychological needs. He explores the patterns people experience across ages and cultures. Children's dreams teem with animals and danger, adolescents face tests, transformations, and anxieties about identity. Adults replay relationships, ambitions, and grief, while older dreamers often revisit memories or contemplate mortality. Van de Cassel weaves these patterns into a narrative of the human lifespan, showing dreams as mirrors that evolve with us. Emotions become central. Van de Cassel emphasizes that dreams do not present facts but feelings shaped as imagery. Fear, desire, guilt, and hope appear as figures, locations, or symbolic events. Understanding these emotional signatures can guide decisions, resolve conflicts, and uncover suppressed needs. The dream becomes a rehearsal space where the psyche processes what waking life refuses to confront. He then turns to nightmares. Rather than treating them as threats, he frames them as urgent messages. Nightmares dramatize situations of helplessness, danger, or unresolved trauma, forcing the dreamer to feel what they avoid by day. Van de Kassel encourages confronting these images with curiosity rather than fear, noting that many nightmares soften or transform once their underlying emotion is acknowledged. The book offers practical guidance on dream recall. Van de Kassel describes how creating a ritual around sleep, setting intention, keeping a notebook beside the bed, waking gently, can dramatically enhance memory for dreams. By recording them regularly, patterns emerge. Characters recur, environments return, unresolved tension becomes visible. These details form the raw material for meaningful self-reflection. He illustrates how to interpret dreams by following their emotional arcs rather than relying on symbol dictionaries. A falling dream might reflect loss of control, but its meaning becomes personal only when linked to the dreamer's current fears. A house dream might represent the self, but the significance differs depending on whether the house is bright, decayed, crowded, or empty. Interpretation becomes an intimate conversation with the self. Van de Kassel also explores extraordinary dream phenomena, lucid dreaming, shared dreams, precognitive experiences, and intense symbolic breakthroughs. Rather than dismissing or endorsing them outright, he treats them as compelling human experiences worth examining. This balanced approach encourages the reader to remain open, neither naive nor cynical, when unusual dreams arise. As the narrative draws toward its conclusion, he argues that the true power of dreams lies in integration. A dream only becomes transformative when reflected upon, discussed, and acted on. Insights might inspire creative projects, emotional healing, or changes in relationships. By responding to dreams, the dreamer acknowledges the mind's attempt to communicate, strengthening the inner dialogue. In the final chapters, Van de Kassel portrays the dreaming mind as a lifelong companion. It is a storyteller, archivist, therapist, and artist all at once, working every night to weave meaning from experience. To honor dreams is to honor one's deepest self. His closing message is quiet but profound: by listening to our dreams, we cultivate a more attentive waking life, one that is imaginative, emotionally intelligent, and deeply connected to our inner world.